First up, I quickly want to talk about some new information from the IRS on 1,400 stimulus checks. If you are one of the roughly 600,000 people who did not claim your $1,400 stimulus checks from last year, or if you did not receive it yet, the IRS just gave new guidance on how you can claim that money or what you can do to actually file the payment trace. If you still have not received that payment, I could hardly recommend it that you go to the IRS website and read through the frequently asked questions sections where you can get additional information on claiming your $1,400 checks. Remember, it makes sure that it ends with .gov, which is the accurate website. There are a lot of you in this community who are non-filers, as in you typically do not file a tax return because you may be living on a fixed income and your income is low enough where you typically don't need to file. However, I want to throw this out there as well. Monday is tax day. If you are non-filer and you still have not received your stimulus check, or you did not receive the other lump sum payment to your child tax credit payments, you got to file a tax return in order to claim it. Alright, one more note here on tax returns, and then we'll move on to the next update. The IRS did inform us about a week ago or so that there's $1.5 billion still on the table from 2018. For those individuals who did not file a tax return in 2018, you got 3 years to claim that money. Well, on Monday is the very last day you can claim that money, the $1.5 billion. So, if you are somebody who did not file a tax return from 2018 and you feel that you are doing some tax money back from that year, you may want to check out as well. Because Monday passed by, if you don't claim the money from 2018, it's gone. The IRS will keep that money. So, there's $1.5 billion on the table unclaimed from 2018. Check it out if you feel like you fall into that category. Some reports just came out today as well. Alright, retail sales number was released. It came in of 0.5% or 0.5% last month. So in other words, retail sales increased by 0.5 percentage point last month, which all of this bringing inflation that we are currently seeing now, people are apparently still out spending money. Retail sales are up. They're probably not telling us the entire story. Basically, all of us are going out to the stores. We are buying the same things that we need. We are paying higher prices for that, which is ultimately checking up retail sales, right? So, essentially, maybe 3 months ago, we were all buying at the store, maybe $100 worth of stuff. However, today, we go to the stores and buy the same old things, and maybe today we are spending, say, $130 on the same things. We are not like going out and spend more money on different things, so it makes it look like retail sales are inflated because we are buying more stuff. So, a lot of times, when these reports are released, they are not telling us the full picture. They just basically say, oh, retail sales are up. They are up too because inflation is up, like multiple percentage points just over the last couple of months. Break it all down for you and make sure that we are all on the same page and that we are all understanding what is actually going on out right there. Another report that I want to throw out there as well. This is another inflationary report. It was Tuesday and the CPI number were released, which came in at 8.5% year over year, 1.5% month over month. However, there's another inflationary measure that we'd like to watch, which is called a PPI Producer Price Index. Now, what this one does is it measures inflation on the wholesale level. We are measured by the CPI, however, producers are measured by the PPI Producer Price Index. Well, this came in at 11.2%. This is the biggest producer price index, 11.2% in the history of the world. This is in the US, so this is the biggest number we've ever seen in the history since they've been watching this number 11.2% on an annual basis, or 1.4% month over month. That's massive. Seriously, when we see producer paying significantly more at the wholesale level, therefore they pass off that onto the consumer. This is a new report that was sent out, and once again, inflation is ringing out there, including Sean mentioned, is not having it right now. With all this inflation, when is it going to end seriously? It just continues to go on, and we are getting kind of tired of buying higher prices every single time we go to the stores. It's getting nuts out there. Seriously. If we could go back a year ago and buy the same prices that we were paying a year ago on the same old things, we feel like we are getting a bargain, right? Let me tell you another report that came out. The Treasury just reported today that from October of last year to March of this year, they brought in a record $2.1 trillion of tax revenues between the last 6 months. They also reported another record half of tax revenues at $1.85 trillion. Over the last year, the Treasury had come out 2 times in a row 6 months, increments at the time $1.85 trillion of tax revenues, and now this latest reading of $2.1 trillion in tax revenues, both of which are records. By the way, now during record inflation, during a time when Americans are struggling probably the most, now here's the deal. They're reporting record tax revenues. They just reported $2.1 trillion in the last 6 months. All that we could really need right now is out of that $2.1 trillion. If they just build up 0.1, that's $100 billion. That's all we would need. 0.1 what they just reported in the last 6 months to give us $2,000 stimulus check for 50 million struggling Americans. They have $2.1 trillion and peel off a 0.1 on that $2.1 trillion. They could send it out in the form of a $2,000 stimulus check for 50 million Americans. When I look at the Treasury, by the way, remember, the government operates like a big profitable business, but the way that we are generate revenues is by tax revenues. The government, the Treasury, and the IRS operate like a big massive business. Well, they just reported a massive hole of $2.1 trillion. They like to usually give money back to their shareholders. Our earnings report that just came out of the Treasury, I feel like what would be the best and the most prudent thing for them to do properly peel off. In other words, the people, the low-income people out there who are struggling so badly. There's this huge disconnection right here, this huge great divide here. We are talking about implementing more inquiry across this country, and there are a lot of people out there with this great divide. Billionaires are going richer and richer every day, and the low income is struggling. Maybe somebody from Treasury, the Irish, and lawmakers are watching this video. You got $2.1 trillion that just gone dumped into your bank account. The low income, a stimulus check to grant, this make it happen already. We are doing everything we possibly can do, ask for more money now. And they are basically bargaining that they just brought in $2.1 trillion. In fact, at the high income, the people that are earning 80 grand a year, 100 grand a year or more, I do not think these people should get a check. I think those people with an income of 40 grand or less, maybe 50,000 or less, should be getting checks, not only a big lump sum check, but ongoing payments for probably the rest of this year at a minimum, possibly even longer. If you are talking down 80 grand a year, you've got a pretty nice income, you are well above the median income in this country, and you don't need a check. Just being real with you, it's the low income people, it's the seniors, it's the fixed income people, it's the SSDI, the SSI, the VA, the retirees. It's all of these people living on a low income, maybe below 40 grand a year. These are the people that need the checks.